All right, we're back here today at the Relentless podcast, where I have a very, very special guest. He's a master of his trade in culture building, and he's an author. Definitely want to check out his book. His name is Jay Doran. Jay, thank you for coming here today.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. Appreciate
It's an honor.
For sure, honor's mine. The connections I've already made with you in this short period have been phenomenal. So looking forward to building up also your podcast, which you told me your goals, and I love hearing goals. I'm a goal setter, and going after them. You set the height and you raised the bar for me. So definitely already in just a day made me rethink on what I need to start doing too.
Yeah, Jay last week hates Jay today.
I love it.
He intimidates him.
That's it.
I'm trying to beat him.
Just keep getting after it. So I guess we'll dive into culture matters and what is it that you do for clients and what's your ideal client?
What we do is I look at us as a partner. That's why in our firm we call it client partner. So advisory, consulting, these are kind of, what does that even mean, right? Abstract words, or you can't really grab onto them. I like to look at, we're in the idea business, but the execution of the idea business.
Love it.
So it's not just a conversation of what you should do or how you should do it, or even just being an ear for you to think through your problems and think through strategies, but it's, well, how do we get our hands dirty? What do we actually have to do? So we built it where we have resources, an internal team to get things done. So we're in the idea and execution business first. That builds company culture, right? But not just for culture's sake, like we're gonna get all excited that, we're here and we're a part of something. We also need to be really successful. So what does that mean? That's gonna be reflected in the revenue, that's gonna be reflected in the growth, that's gonna be reflected in the profit. So it's not an either or where pizza parties and then things all go downhill. It's things go uphill, and so, we like each other and we would want to eat together.
Sure.
So long story longer, advisory, consulting, idea business, execution business. That's what we do. And who's the ideal customer for that? It would be someone that, could put up with me.
You're easy to deal with. You're easy to talk to, for sure.
Talk to Mom.
Oh, yeah.
Episode 242 of the Culture Matters podcast. Talk to Barbara. Put up with, and vice versa, right? We have to be able to get along and wants to grow and do it in a meaningful way. The people have to matter at some degree. And I'm saying this based on if I'm reflecting on who we've actually been able to work with over the years.
Sure.
And have longer term relationships. It's people that are interested in growth, but in a way that family matters, their beliefs matter. And it's not just the money, but it's the money and.
Got it.
It's not an either or, it's that and. And someone might think, well, that sounds like me. We won't know that until we talk and meet with one another. So that would be my first. It's
Got it.
Founders that are interested in being CEOs more than just like the title.
Sure.
That's
Absolutely.
like my niche. I've always been kind of gravitating towards that person in that spot.
Got it. So if someone wanted your services, what would be the best way for them to get a hold of you?
267-885-6418. I was way too siloed for too long, and that's ironic based on Culture Matters. So you just text me, and then I would
Love it.
I would have a conversation and just learn to listen.
Yep.
And if I can't, when I say I, assume that there's a bunch of people that unfortunately aren't getting credit for this conversation. It's a we. We're a team. So I want to say that too.
Absolutely.
If I can't, or I don't think we're a fit, then the beauty of the Culture Matters podcast, we have this amazing roster of connections and co-conspirators and helping people that I would be able to introduce you to somebody that could very quickly. That's a love language of mine.
That's great.
Just text me.
So walk me through the process. I call you up. We talk about my business. What is it that I do, and where am I going? And you provide a solution, or you provide something that's going to build us up. Is that how that works?
Yeah, well, the first thing is definitely listening and asking questions, because discovery is about figuring out what the other person wants and needs. And I want to be clear, there are different types of, because we could define what's a coach,
Sure.
what's an advisor, what's a consultant, what's a mentor, even what's a role model. We could spend a whole episode, I'll go quickly. Coach, the foundation of that, it would be inquiry, like listening, asking questions, helping, like being a guide for someone to think through problems, think out solutions out loud, someone to listen to someone.
Got it.
Advisor, okay, there's an advisor for a specific piece of information, or we need to bring this in our organization. Who's the person? Who comes to mind? Who has mind share over that topic? They've collected research, experience, wisdom around said topic.
Sure.
There could be, or you're investing in whatever's in between their temples, and a product of their experience and their wisdom. Consultant is, if it's, let's say, a consultative process, we might retain a consultant or consultants to come in and observe and discover and audit like the current state of affairs as an organization.
Got it.
And they're, generally they'll propose, at least in the, everyone does this a little bit differently. Here's what we see. Here's what you think you need. Here's what we think you need. Here's the synthesis. You've paid for this. Maybe that's enlightening to the customer. And the customer now wants to say, well, what else can you do? Can you help me get it done? And some firms do and some firms don't.
Got it.
Mentor, who do you think about first that maybe be senior to you in your life? Like someone that they haven't necessarily done showcase remodels, meaning, or like what the value, the product is, what the service is to customers. But you admire them. They have come before you in whatever their business was. They're not necessarily paid, be unpaid, but somebody you're calling first.
Right.
Like you've created that relationship.
Sure.
I would argue that would fall under that mentor. Someone generally senior. We aspire to what they've accomplished, even if it's in a different domain.
Sure.
And we're creating that relationship. We're the one calling them. Maybe over time they call us. How are you doing?
Absolutely.
Role model, even we may not even have a relationship with, but someone that has their life, how they live their life, we'd want to replicate. So I think first I want to kind of put each of those in a tranche. Whether we realize that, I've observed a lot of our contemporaries, competitors, and so on. In one form or fashion, we all do a little bit of all that, whether we realize it or not. So how my approach is going to be to do discovery, like the consultative approach, and to live between the coach in inquiry and question asking, and the advisor is that accumulation of research. I personally, part of my job description is to read and study the various disciplines that come together with culture.
Got it.
It's not just business, it's psychology and history and anthropology, all these things that kind of give you make your head hurt, philosophy. And so there's study with that, there's a lot of reading with that.
Right.
There's also a lot of like the consultative, working in the trenches, observing, interviewing employees, executives, leaders. It depends how deep that relationship is going to go. And then on the one-on-one side, if it's an let's say it's generally the founder, the chief, it would be part inquiry, part advisory. Right?
Got it.
So it's a combination. And then to make it, I did forget one category. There's the teacher.
Right.
And the teacher is like, there's a curriculum, there's a syllabus, and there's things to learn. That would be even another. So we got coach, advisor, consultant, mentor, role model, and teacher. Those are different categories. And to the best of my ability within my awareness, you have to know where you fit and who you fit with and how to serve them.
Sure.
That would be my short answer.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be my shortest answer.
That's fair enough. Fair enough. So in doing that, I mean, there's a million different professionals that do a million different things. Is there somewhere where you actually like to work with, or have you worked with before and find great success or great fulfillment in working with a certain company? Because I know you from in the whole real estate game. So, realtors and mortgage guys and all that. So I know, for you, for me, and again, from what I heard from one of my best friends, you are the man. He always said, you got to meet this guy, Jay. He does all these things for me, and we build these things up. And you really did. I actually watched the guy, start to grow and almost relive, what he's done in the past and start to build it up. Unfortunately, he passed away. But all those things that you've done for him, he couldn't say more than enough about you.
Yeah, you're talking about our great friend John Schwartz.
Yes.
Right? October 16th, 2024. He was needed elsewhere, right?
Right.
He elevated, and it's on us, right? We're the ones at the loss.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
You know, I learned so much from him, and it was a really emotional, actually, day. My wife surprised me with this presidential in 24 because she wants me to talk more clearly, be more straight, and like, you know,
Oh yeah.
go out there and sell, right? Level up.
Uh-huh.
And so she got me this, and we had the same one. And that was like a moment for us. You know, we worked together for years and years and years. I met him in 2018, I think. Shout out to Greg Schwartz, who introduced us. One of the things I could say amazing about John, you know, he had vision. And he was, like you told me at the funeral, loyal.
Yes.
And truly a trusted advisor. You were a client of his, and he helped you invest and build a part of your portfolio, I believe.
Large part of
A large.
the
Okay,
portfolio,
so
yeah.
I feel a calling to work with those that care about their customers. They have a passion to serve. Are vision oriented.
Sure.
And you know, live between that strategic, right, of how we get there, and all right, there is something out there we can get to, that also are willing to do the work and get it done. And no matter what that they or we go through, the adversities, are willing to get back up and not quit.
Sure.
And start. So if to answer your question about like a bit more detail, it's less about industry, it's more about person, it's about jive, it's about, and maybe one of the takeaways for those listening, it's like, who are the people in your life that comprise your board of advisors, or your board of people you could trust to give a call to and ask that question of what to do, or just they're gonna be an ear when you need to talk. And I had the blessing of being that for one of those people for John, and it sounds like in one context he was that for you, and I'm sure in many others you were that for him.
Sure.
And there's that reciprocity, right?
Absolutely.
I learn more. I get the luxury of learning from the people that I get to teach, or get to, because there's that listening component, right?
Sure.
So it's about the person. It's less about the industry. Now, of course, the industry's got to be exciting.
Right. Right.
And some of that, a big part of that will, like, look at Elon Musk, right? He made that industry exciting.
Absolutely.
So there's a give and take there. But the industry's got to be exciting. So the one thing I've struggled with over the years, because we're so focused on the service piece, the client, our client partners, is, you know, you want to be behind the scenes. At the same time, I do have a responsibility to share that culture matters.
Right.
And so that's where I'm coming into this new, almost like awakening, where I did a lot of speaking in the past, and then just like flatline. And now I'm going out and speaking again and going on podcasts versus just being the interviewer.
Right.
And I'm still figuring out how to talk about what we do and why we do it and how we do it without like just, without almost like hacking who we do it with, in a sense. Like just say, yeah, I work with this person, I do this, and I've done this for them. Like that makes me, it makes me so uncomfortable. I've got to learn how to figure out how to do it. I get super uncomfortable talking about it. So I appreciate you talking about our mutual friend, John. And yes, he did tell me that we were helpful to him.
Yeah.
In his rebound.
Sure.
And growth and evolution. And yeah, it's been, it's been really painful. It's like because I would rather work deep and wide than just wide.
Right.
When it comes to, so, and okay, and it's like the culture matters thing. It's like, what is culture? It's relationships.
It sure
if we
is.
make it simple. I could, if anyone listens already, like I can make anything complicated. So it's relationships.
Entrepreneurs
it's
naturally make things complicated. That's what we do. And we have to try and back it up, make it simple so that it works effectively.
So it's the people for me.
That's great.
Working with the customers that care about their customers and want more. And so that would be, I tried to answer that question. We're in a handful of industries, and it really is a reflection of who are the people.
Love it. So I like that you do that only because of a couple things. Number one, this whole thing's a journey, right? Life's a journey, business is a journey, Family's a journey. It's all part of the journey. If you were given everything, making money wouldn't be exciting for you. If you had millions and millions of dollars, you could buy anything you wanted, and you had no struggle in your life, life wouldn't be fun because you could have everything. Now, for you to be able to go in and help a company out, and obviously in doing that, that's how you produce your income, which is awesome. That to me, and it's going to be fulfilling for you because you're working with people that you like working with, and now it's not really a job. You work. I thought I worked a lot and all the time, like 24/7. You have me blown away,
Thanks.
blown away, and it's very impressive to see that. And it goes to show you that hey, you might think you're the hardest worker in the room, then someone else that comes in that's actually working harder go, time to step up your game, right?
Well, you just created accountability for me because I better not let you down.
That's it. When you said
pressure.
83, the numbers started sticking in my head. I'm like, oh my God, that's great. I love the numbers. I'm a numbers guy. So, even if you don't reach that number, you have a number set and you're trying to go for your goal.
Your show is called Relentless. Why?
Relentless is not giving up, pushing on that dial every single day, good, bad, or ugly. It's not going to be good every single day, and be able to get up off that loss and then make it a win. That's where it's at. Because the only way you lose is if you quit. And we ain't quitting here. There's no way we're quitting.
I'm trying to think like how I actually am relentless. And I feel the pressure too, because now especially it's not just myself. I'm not just letting my wife down because we work together.
Right.
I am letting our team down because there's this hidden, even if you don't talk about it, there's an inherent pressure that like, why would they work with us if they weren't expecting a career?
Absolutely.
If they were bought in,
yes,
and our team is bought in, they believe in us. I know they do.
Absolutely.
Because we talk about it. So if I don't sacrifice, I'm letting me down. If I actually am as ambitious as I think I am, if I am as relentless as I'm letting myself down, and I have let myself down. I'm like, I'm up and down and all around. There's an irrational excitement about this whole journey with Culture Matters, caring about something, wanting it to be created, wanting it to be created, and it's not happened overnight. I thought I'd be more successful by now. I really did. I did. And so I was wrong. So things are starting to work out, let's say. Sure. But I'm very careful not to think that that I'm there or we're there. In fact, it's like we have a team, we have our customers are growing. So that means if we have a relationship, there's an opportunity cost if we can't take it to the next level and provide more value to them. So we're competing with those that would want it too and would want to compete with that. So that's like, I'm very competitive. I'm more competitive than I thought I actually was. And I think it's important. And the other thing too, being in that advisory role, people call you different things when you're in that role. Jay's my mentor, or Jay's a teacher, or Jay is an advisor. And I don't want to take people's perception and what they put meaning to away from them. Because like I said, there's different tranches, but we kind of, if we're in the healing service, if we're in the service, professional services, sure. Whoever's listed that's in that serves companies in some way, we're healers, like we're helpers, we're outside, we're inside. We're there to assist. It's not ours, it's not our business, but we have to come from a value standpoint as if it was.
Oh yeah.
It's like working for and working with at the same time. We have to transcend that top down. Like it's not, I'm not hired because I'm above. So it's a service orientation.
It's a value add.
It's a value add. It's a service orientation, and it's not top down. Like, I'm better than you or I'm above you, and that can actually sell really well, and it can be almost intoxicating, or it can make you feel something about yourself that isn't fully true. So I say all that to say that this is why being in that professional services, all of the things that our customers are going to go through, we're going to go through.
That's right.
I'm going to go through.
It's all part of the journey.
And we're going to go through.
Oh yeah.
And I'm doing the best. I have help from the no people around me. Instead of saying yes, they say no, which I struggle with. I want them to say yes. I'm great.
Sure.
So anyway, like that. I want to act out culture as much as talk about it.
Right.
That's a big thing for me.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, everyone wants to be liked, and then sometimes it just isn't there. So what you have to do is obviously you have to find what you can do as far as your profession and culture, and you could see, their process, and maybe their process is perfect. You're not going to be better than them at that, but you're going to go, hey, look, this is what I'm going to bring to the table. This is what's going to make you as a person, the owner, better, people better, produce more, and generally, once you start doing that and your culture starts to get better, the revenues automatically come with it because you're having happy employees, right? You're having happy people. And these are things that are going to help businesses grow. And again, in growth, the journey, listen, I had so many ups and downs. My first up was with John, literally called me. I was at a closing on a house, and it was when I first started having a little bit of money. He says, I have this house. I went over there. I said, yep, I'll take it. And it was a roll. Our journey was on. It was nonstop from there.
Yeah, he's another reason I'm doing this more now, is I realize, like, that's one thing. He was pushing me, like, you got to go out there. You're behind the scenes. You're respecting that role, but you can't do it to the point where no one knows you exist.
That's right.
So with him gone, it was a wake-up call. So I can't stress that enough. You can learn from the people you serve. We have to learn from the people we serve. We have to hear the people that we serve, and especially if anybody's listening that has a passion for professional services, that means you're going to dedicate your life to coaching, or you want to learn how to do consulting, and they're different, or advisory, or you just want to be a mentor to others. You've done something like Sam's doing, where you've built this empire, and that's continuing to grow. You want to mentor. These are things that come with skills and education in their own right, and experience in their own right, and a lot of responsibility. And that just comes to mind. It's like, that's one thing I maybe it would be helpful too. Like, if we're going to talk about culture, some of that is definitely values. Like, what are the values of one's organization? And the process of figuring out what those values are can be a great self-awareness, a helpful team building exercise. Like, so the real conversations come to the table, and the real conversations are they're inevitably tough to get to the table because the table moves.
That's right.
Oh, yeah. So as the company grows, the table moves, and it's almost like we're all following the table. We're all trying to eat Thanksgiving dinner, since it's Thanksgiving tomorrow. Eat Thanksgiving dinner together as the employees, right? We're all trying to eat Thanksgiving together. The table keeps moving, and you can't talk and say what you think and how you feel about the company and where we're going and what's going on and what's working, what's not working. Let's just say, like, until you put your plate down. So, in the metaphor, a team building exercise, like, what are our values? What could they be? Having someone to help with that, it puts the table in place for a minute. For everybody to get to the table with their plate, eat, because that, you eat with people you love and you care about, and then have the meal.
Right.
Like at the end of the family dinner, hey, all right, what did you learn this year? Those are the best Thanksgivings. And then there might be a little arguing too. There might be a little debate.
Part of it. It's part of it.
Well,
absolutely.
And it takes trust to do that. And therefore it takes leadership to do that. And therefore it takes values more than just title for that to happen. And our job as number one is tough because we're taking the arrows, and then we're also fighting battles that not everyone even knows or could understand.
Sure.
So how do we not let that get to us? How do we do it? And that how do we do it is fascinating to me because it's really not clear. Here's a big secret. All of us in professional services, we don't know either.
Correct.
And so the curious part of my personality loves that. It's like, I have the books here because I'm always trying to learn, and we don't know. So anyway, it's just the values are an important piece.
Sure.
But it's not just that we have them or we try to figure out what they are. It's how do we actually get there and how do we live them? And that takes helpers.
Yeah, definitely. So a couple things. Some of those people, some of these businesses, they don't even get to a table to even have that chance to eat together before it even switches. They go out, they do their duties, they do their job. They never get a chance to even say, hey, what is culture? Because they're just out there working. And I feel like for years and years and years, I did that. I'm like, hey, we don't need that. We don't need this. We don't need to have team meetings. We don't need any meetings. We don't need to go over anything. The problem is as you start to grow, if you don't build that solid or you don't take a step back and say, hey, this is solid, you're going to have issues with your growth because people are going to be doing things different ways. Some of them right, some of them wrong. And then anything that's wrong is never going to be brought up to be able to be fixed because it's not talked about at that table. So again, I feel like doing daily huddles. Doing we have a L10 meeting every Tuesday from 10 to 11:30 with the higher level people, and then those people are supposed to have it with their people that they directly report to or get reported to directly to them. All those things are going to be able to, and the better you get at them, the more you do them, better you get at them, to ask the right questions. So I think asking the right questions, doing on a consistent basis, having to-dos that need to be done at an 80% rate per week. All those things are going to play into building that business up, building that culture up, and having a vision. So my next part was going to be vision. Listen, not everyone knows what their vision is, and it's a big deal. It's a big deal. I didn't know that for a long time. So if I'm going to ask you this question. So if someone doesn't have a vision, and they may have their I don't know what kind of company it is, but call it a company, how can you help them develop a vision? Do you ask them certain questions, or you say, "Hey, you have to have a vision to come to me"? Sorry to stump you, but I think it's a serious thing. Like for me, that was my big deal for me. I wasn't able to really come up with a vision that I could actually kind of communicate correctly to my people.
What do you think the block was?
I think it was me. So I was thinking, hey, do well, do good. It's one of my friends. It was like his mission statement and mine. Eventually, it took me reading a book to all of a sudden in my head one night I woke up and I wrote down visions and mission statements for years, and then all of a sudden I woke up and I'm like, oh my God, I got it. And it was really simple. It was give it, get it and give it. And to me, that helped kind of put our vision together on, hey, we're working to build not just somebody's kitchen. We're trying to make people happy in their home and spend time in their home and be happy with the result of what we've done for a long time, not just tomorrow or not just today. And once we do that, and we're actually doing that, we start to take care of our employees, and we want happy employees too. Because at first it's like, hey, let's make sure the customers are happy, and that's all well and good. But what about the people that actually break their backs every single day for us, go out there and work, and what about them? What about them being happy? What about them, getting it, and then giving it? Like literally, once they start to see, they can also give back to somebody, whether it be, like a nonprofit just getting involved and volunteering their time, or actually building something for somebody that they're going to use that they couldn't have because maybe they're less fortunate. That we're able to do that now, and I'm so lucky to be able to do that. But for years and years, I didn't know what the vision was. I didn't even know you're supposed to have a vision. It was just like, hey, this is what I'm doing. And then I got to put it on paper, and then I got to put it on Triannual. You know what I mean? All those things are processes that we start to take, and sometimes we take them for granted. But that's something that I feel like at a certain point I would have needed help with, especially in business, because I never went to school for business. Kind of learned it on my own.
Was there what led to the realization that you didn't have?
Great question. I read that book, Traction, from Gino Wickman. I said, man, this book. If I read this book 20 years ago, I couldn't imagine where I'd be. And again, when it's only me and another guy, a couple guys, to make a mistake or to drive, a wrong decision into the ground would be one thing. But once you have, 50 plus people working for you, and then they have their wives, and now you're 100, and then they have 2 or 3 kids, and you're at what I decide today directly affects 100 plus people. That's a big responsibility. I never had that responsibility before. And that's something I've never seen anything even taught. What happens to the owner if he makes the wrong decision? That affects everybody down the line. So that to me started becoming something that would like eat at me. Oh my God, if I don't do this, if I don't get this, if we don't hit this, it's going to affect everybody. So, I would drive myself mad making sure I had everything, almost like an anxiety, where I had to, okay, these had to be sold. These had to be done. Move this forward, move this backward, make sure this is perfect. And I push everything in the direction, which was great because it was me doing it, but it was also a flaw because I would be too much involved, almost like a micromanager. So I had to step back, read the L10, and I thought maybe I could do everything. That was my thinking, hey, relentless, right? I could do everything, I don't need anybody. It's not the case, right? Bringing in a coach for that from that book. Actually,
Sure.
I did. And it wasn't just for me. Luckily, it was for the whole team. So we all sat down and we were a great team. We still are, even better now. But it was everyone doing everything, no one accountable for nothing. So if there was an issue and say, oh, I thought you did it, I thought you did it, everyone was pointing the finger, but there was no real responsibility for a single person. And what Traction did for us was it helped us. It wasn't them telling us like a consultant saying, you need to do this, this, and this. It was more of, hey, what is it that you guys do? Okay, these are the things that you do. Okay, what area and who would be the best at doing it? Okay, you'd be the best. Well, guess what? You're the office manager. What do you do? Oh, you're the operations manager. And then all of a sudden, all these things start to go really, 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 really small, and then really, really, really laser focused on exactly what it is that we need to be done. Then I'm like, hey, now we need to start working on the culture. That was like my next thing. I'm like, cool. Now I got myself where I'm wearing all the hats, right? I'm the person who's basically taking all those calls, making all those fires, putting all those fires out. I'm a firefighter. I'm a salesman. I'm a project manager, and being the bottleneck of the company is how I build it because I never worked for anybody, and I build it small, right? But as you grow, you have to work yourself out of working in the business and more on the business. Now, I keep jumping back and forth because I absolutely love it, and I get
that I would actually argue good.
Yeah, good. I'm glad you
Because
said
the
that.
in versus out is actually a half truth.
Got it. I love that you say that because
Part of the role of, if I drew it for you, the chief, if you're taking the role, that's part of your job description. To be whoever is in the chief executive officer's job description. They live in here. So you could see this.
Yep.
In, out. Yeah, I don't know if there's...
Yep, you can see them both.
See it.
Perfect.
The in is everyone who's currently comprised in the organization, customers, employees, third parties, who's already a part of this. What is? The out is what could be. Who could be with us?
Right.
Customers, employees, third parties. And that's it. That's a big group.
Absolutely.
Who's here? Who could? The chief is in the middle between what's currently in existence and you're responsible for.
Right.
And accountable to what? The results. Not just what people say, but the fruit. These two arrows on the side, it can feel like purgatory. I just created a prison. Part of it, that's part of this whole thing, an inevitability. Or it could be a bit more meaningful. Catch me on a Tuesday, it's purgatory. Catch me on a Thursday, it's meaningful. I'm fixated on how we do it.
Sure.
That's where values comes in. But this idea of on and in is a partial truth. It's both and when and how.
Yeah.
And that feedback loop, that's where advisors come in. That's where you start to build your Rolodex of those outside that give energy to inside, and you start to build an enterprise. You go from having job descriptions around you, the person in that seat, to executives around you in that seat.
Got it.
And it's all a process.
Oh, yeah.
But this idea of on and in is like a plague, like a cancer in self-help that I'd like to extinguish. Think of me as the antidote or the panacea or the I don't want to say the V word because of the right, like, but just I'm not a shot in the arm, but I'm more of like what I'm trying to represent here is that it isn't an either or. It's a both and. Because think about this. If it's either or, it's rule number 4. And I'll shout out this book I'm doing a lecture series on. Beyond order, rule number 4 is notice that opportunity lurks where responsibility has been abdicated. Abdicated means thrown away.
Sure.
So we don't want the president not going to work tomorrow. That's why they age so quickly. If they do, war breaks out.
Right.
We need the engaged person.
Correct.
And so this idea that it's honor in, works as a sales pitch, but it actually has backwards effects as a fulfillment
Got
of
it.
the results.
Got it.
And it's a blind spot for many in the professional service world that are kind of just parroting things that, it's the zeitgeist, the expression of the times.
Right.
So in this time in business and in this age, we say on versus in.
Got it.
We get shamed, meaning if we're watching, TikTok, and we're seeing people that may or may not be, but let's say that they really are more successful than us from a capitalistic perspective,
Right.
like have done bigger things, and they're telling us you shouldn't be working. It should all be working for you.
Right.
If they're telling us that, I would argue, like, who wants to work for a tyrant?
Right. Exactly.
Whose pyramid are we building?
Sure.
So I think with that, unless one listening to this wants to be coup d'etat out, like any dictator, I would challenge you to rethink that narrative and what are they selling me?
Absolutely.
What did they buy that they're selling me? So
Correct.
it might not even be a conspiracy. What are they trying to convince themselves of? Because it's a lot of responsibility to run a company.
Oh, definitely.
That's why some people that are listening say, "Oh, I'm done. I don't want to do it anymore." Well, you have the opportunity that somebody else would want what you built.
Sure.
And so that changes the whole conversation. But that chief role is it's a leadership role, and the leader has to be there.
Oh, yeah.
In the worst times.
That's right.
So I personally, I guess part of my platform, John was pushing me to like share some of these ideas, and brought us together. Is like my opinion of it, which I have to be able to debate opinions, and the crowd chooses. Is that the on versus in is a half truth. And it's only part of the story.
Got it.
For as long as I'm the leader.
Love that. Love
I'm
hearing
the
that.
authority.
Love actually hearing that from somebody, because that's what you don't hear at all in most of these conferences. And they say, hey, you got to be on the business, in the business. And what I've seen, just me personally, just using your drawing here, on in, you could be on either. You're right. You're part of both, making it happen on either side. And then when you start doing the coaching, it's never going to be easy, especially at first, because you're going to get, instead of purgatory, I'm going to call it pushback. Pushback from the people working, going, they never want nothing new. They've been doing it for 10 years. It's been working fine for them. The numbers, they don't understand the numbers. But for them, why are we doing? Why? And the M, that's going to be, I'm going to call it making it happen. Right?
I like that.
So you got pushback and you got make it happen. And it's going to go up and down. And then as you start to build that part of it up, and actually people see it, and they start buying, I call it buying in, right? They start buying into what you're doing. Then you're going to have more of the make it happen people, less of the people that are giving you a pushback. And all of a sudden, those people that are giving you the pushback, and still to the day, all of a sudden they're going to fizzle out and they're going to go away. Whether they quit or whatever, it's not for them. And then you're going to have more of the people shining with the make it happen, because it's one or the other. And once you push to one side or the other, it just happens.
Oh, I want to add something to this. It helps us to ask them to leave.
Right.
Because it means that if we do it in a way that's respectful, we had to listen.
Absolutely.
One of the rules I think it's 12 rules for life is, assume that the person you are listening to knows something you don't. I think it's rule 10. 9. That bothers me. I've been studying
I'm the same way
this
with
thing.
numbers.
I like to know that.
Oh, yeah.
But assume the person you are listening to knows something you don't. So in, just use an analogy, we have to leave countries that don't listen to their people. Because if we speak up, they put us in prison.
Correct.
So we can only self-select. I fight back on this in the self-help world, where, for this very reason, we would not appreciate that form of governance, which is how they're running that culture, that business. Personally, in our lives, we want our vote to matter. We want to be heard. And so, and in that interplay, there's a push and pull, like you're saying.
Sure.
But I would argue the people in us in leadership, we benefit from if someone we believe is disengaged, as opposed to them just quitting or quiet quitting or having an environment where almost they're forced out. If we've listened and we've embraced the conflict, it won't be an unhealthy, toxic exit. It's actually a challenge of the values. It's actually a call to the leadership, a call to authority. It doesn't have to be. Now, if the culture is running and the energy's there, will peers, what does this even mean? Hold accountable. Will they tell the truth to each other? Like, hey, you're not doing, because they respect the organization. People start telling each other the truth, and then others that don't want to be a part of it, they'll be like, hey, here's my notice. Will that naturally take place? Of course. In our, in our country, if you want to leave the country, you can come back. You can leave, you can come back. In other cultures, if you leave, there's really bad consequences for other. So this I get overly fixated, because this is where the values and the leadership development happens, is how people are asked to leave matters. That we do it. If we don't see someone's a fit, because we don't know, it's hard to differentiate between, is pushback constructive, like meaning, there was a spacecraft that blew up, and they said, an engineer was talking about, after the fact, they knew exactly what was wrong, but they weren't heard.
Got it.
That can save a lot of lives.
Absolutely.
And to no one's specific fault, as we grow, it gets harder and harder. It's like trying to hear somebody that's yelling to you when you're at the top of the mountain. You don't hear, you kind of vaguely, all of a sudden they're yelling, and now they're yelling really hard because they care. They're yelling really hard, but it's so far away you can't hear them, and you just think they're cursing at you.
I got it.
That's what happens with hierarchies. Yeah,
Absolutely.
so it's I don't want to not say that.
Sure.
Because it's an important thing that I think is important to share generally in the marketplace. Like, let's be careful that something isn't being said that can't be useful. And the embracing of it leads us, like, the person may truly not want to be a part of the organization.
Right.
Like, their calling is something else.
Absolutely.
Having that conversation and having that culture where it can happen and actually helping them figure that out, that is not an easy thing to do.
It's definitely not.
But I would argue that actually builds leadership. It builds leaders and leaders. Like, that formula is, I haven't cracked the code on it, but but that formula, if it was a formula, that's where you get leaders growing.
That's right.
That it's like, people that want power don't deserve it. That old quote, he who desires power is unfit to wield it, kind of thing. So I just wanted to add that to the conversation, is people will naturally leave a part of something they don't believe in, but it's why don't they believe in it? And then it just goes back to the vision piece. It's like, if we're going to talk about vision, it's where are we going? Why? What do you think? And it takes a lot of time, strategy, planning, figuring. I live in that world. And it's not, because we could literally go anywhere. I mean, look at, if you have a company that went from 0 to hero, it's infinite where it could go.
Right.
It's what do you actually, what do you want? Because whoever's at the top, what they want, especially before there's a public and a board of directors, and they're just pulling a new CEO every couple of years, private business, it's limitless what one wants. And so you asked the question earlier, like how I help in that. It's a lot of questions. It's also a lot of statements and scenarios and ideas, and it's being a part of whoever. It's like painting. It's like painting a painting with, if I'm not the artist in a sense, the client is the artist, but they don't know how to paint. And we both have paintbrushes, and we're painting together.
Right. It's never going to come out how it was.
And so that
yep.
mosaic is going to kind of create itself. But the people do need to know, at varying degrees, where are we going?
That's
What's
right.
I have, this is our personal net worth on the phone here in 2034. There's a whole plan behind this. I know it. Every time I get a call, I have to explain it to somebody, and it's on me to get this in front of our team to That's the job.
That's
It's
right.
part of the job.
Absolutely.
So yeah, and then not everybody wants. I don't think it's as important for us like to know what Schopenhauer has this quote that I've always obsessed over. Man can do what he wants, but not want what he wants.
So you just now two of the three things that I say every time I put somebody in position.
Yeah.
So putting everyone at the table, like you said, everyone eating together. Again, you're going to push back and you're going to have it make it happen. And sometimes it goes from pushback to the same people making it happen. Now, what you have to ask them is once they have that position clearly defined, there's three things. And you said two of them. It's they get it, so they understand it. They understand the position. They actually want it. You nailed on both of those. And then the third thing might be the most important thing. They have the ability to get it done. So if they can get it and they want it, those two are important, but have the ability to get it done. Now they're on board for your vision, for your mission to be able to succeed. And what that does, what that L10 meeting does every week, that pushes the people to either buy all in or move out so we can get somebody in faster to be able to fill that spot that gets it, wants it, and has the ability to do it so that mission can be accomplished.
Yeah, I like the way you put that. And so as an organization becomes an enterprise, this is where various departments start becoming a reality where like maybe an organization will invest resources for those that have the talent but don't have the know-how to learn and get it.
Correct.
Just keep something in mind for all listening that are in a position of like, let's say ownership. This is where the teaching aspect comes in. This applies for me and you.
Sure.
And that's where I am very much a proponent of I think at some level to be a service provider, we have to believe in people. We believe that people can evolve and change. Like believe that somebody that we, let's say our company's if we got it to, if we get it, whatever the highest we've ever gotten it to, we're not the same person if it was 5x that. Like, and what makes us who we are, what we read, what we don't, who we work with, who we don't, who helps us, who doesn't, what we want, what we don't want. But we can get stuck with what we want, what we think we want, we don't. What we don't want, we actually do. It's like, and
Correct.
so I just want to say I live as the founder of Culture Matters. I live in a position of entitled incompetency.
Love that.
Because
that's great.
that's why I want to be relentless, like
right.
you.
Absolutely.
With I am because, well, and thankfully for my wife, my life partner, we work together. I don't even get to be that entitled for long because that's I'm getting chewed out and then we push you, but I'm entitled. So hey, I am in a state of entitled incompetency, meaning I have to change. I have to get better to accomplish what we're trying to accomplish.
Sure.
And so I just thought it would be helpful to add that. It's like the idea of I can't get all this done. And so I have to, that's where I think we have to be learners at some level, whether we realize we are or not, to run companies. Any level. Because we have to unlearn.
Yep, any level.
We have to learn, we have to unlearn and relearn. Glenn Yopes said this on the Culture Matters podcast. I love what he said. He's like, learn, unlearn, relearn. And so, yes, our people, we are gonna, this is where love actually creates entitlement. Let's say we have people that have been with this for many years, they can't do the job anymore. This is where having the ability to have those tough conversations comes in.
Right.
So we could figure out what do you want?
Sure.
Are you doing enough on your own? Do we as an organization have to provide more? We do outgrow people. Giant corporations outgrow the CEO. They get a new one. It's a tremendously, this is where hard work, I like this, but hard work, sacrifice. This one thing, last thing I'll say in the time that you've honored me with is hard work and sacrifice. In the absence of those, the culture becomes a tyranny.
Absolutely. Nailed it.
Yeah,
nailed it.
This is why John always wanted us to get together.
Oh yeah, you nailed it on that.
But it becomes a tyranny.
Absolutely.
Because who wants to serve, the Messiah?
Right.
But the Messiah is actually in the field tilling, so that dismantles that whole idea of work only on. It's both, and nobody wants to work for that tyrant.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
I just to get it. I am in a position. I want to remind myself every day, so that I can be the best advisor possible, team leader, within my awareness. That I'm in a position of entitled incompetency, meaning, no, who's firing me? The marketplace.
That's right.
But I could BS my way forever until eventually it gets me. Because I'm in that position of entitlement. But incompetency, because if we got here at a certain level, how are we going to get over here? And this is where your vision comes in. It's like, well, what do we actually want?
Correct.
And I have advisors, paid and unpaid, and meant all of everything I just said. That's important, right? To be congruent. I don't know it all, and I can't know it all. And
but you have the resources. You have to build those resources.
We have to do it. It's like,
oh yeah.
Anyway, this has been a relentless conversation.
Absolutely.
I'm really passionate. Thanks for bringing it on.
I appreciate you coming on. And if you could, in final, can you go over the name of your podcast, how people can get a hold of you on social media also, and I really appreciate you having on too.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
The culture. So the Culture Matters podcast episodes go out every day. The Culture Matters podcast. Hours of content.
Jay's a beast.
available.
He's a beast. I want to definitely spend some time on his podcast.
Thank you.
A lot of it.
Yeah, Sam has been on the show and will come back. I like to have people come back. It's culture, right? The Culture Matters podcast. It's black and gold because there's other Culture Matters ones, and I'm sure they're wonderful. But
Love it.
we release one every day, or multiple every day, but every day you have content, and it's available. The Culture Matters podcast. Follow me on Instagram, Doran, so JAYDORAN_ The Culture Man. That's easy to find because I was at the time dramatic and maybe a bit arrogant enough to put myself as the Culture Man.
I love that.
So JAYDORAN_ The Culture Man on Instagram. And go check out Sam's episode. Very enlightening.
Great. Thank you so much.